welcome to another episode of Living in Rockland Live. I'm so excited to bring on Cleo Mack, the owner and founder of Bow Bar by Cleo. So Cleo, why don't you kick it off? Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and where you live in Rockland.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
I'm actually primary and foremost a local mom. I live in Japan, and my son goes to Tappan Zee High School. So, go Dutchman.
Go Dutchman.
Yes, absolutely. And lacrosse later today. But other than that, I did just recently open my own business. It's a beauty business in Nyack. I'm on 99 Main Street, so right in town. And things that I do are Botox and fillers and chemical peels. And it's a growing business. So it's basically whatever people want me to do, I will be able to do for them.
So it's ever evolving. I feel like the beauty industry always is, right? They're always coming up with something else to make us look better.
Absolutely. There's always something new. So I do try to always stay on top of things because my patients come in, they're like, have you heard? And I'll have to say yes, because I will have to heard.
You'll have to hear. So bring us back. I know that you just opened up this business, but what did you do before you decided to go off on your own and open up this beauty business?
Sure. It's a somewhat of a long story, but we'll shorten it for this. Nursing is my second career. I used to be an event planner before this in Westchester. And one day just said, you know what? Why didn't you do nursing in college again? So I went back to school and I went to PACE. So I went to local school and went into an accelerated program to get a bachelor's
that
in
one's
nursing.
tough.
Yes.
I went to PACE, so I know that program is like 11 months of hell.
Hell. And if you walk into the library, you probably only see like nursing students in like groups. It's always a thing. There's just a lot. It's a lot for sure. And even my son, who was little at the time, knew how bad it was, because when I said, honey, I'm going back to school, he was like, oh, again?
I know. He probably never saw you during that time, right? Because you're like studying like crazy.
Yeah, it was cartoons on one side and very, very horrible textbooks on the other side.
So you went to PACE and you got your BSN, I'm assuming, right?
I did. I got my BSN and I started working at White Plains Hospital, so local hospital also. And I was working on a med-surg floor, and one day my nursing professor was walking by and she's like, oh my God, when are you coming back? And I was like, oh, no,
never.
I'm not. She's like, no, you should. And I was like, no, this is really expensive. This is really hard. And she was like, no, just call me and we'll figure it out. And we figured it out and I went back.
So you went back for your NP?
I did. And that was another couple of years, a little more than 2 years, but it was part-time at least. So not quite it was totally overwhelming, but in a different way.
So obviously you were working at that time, you were still in a hospital, and then what happened after you actually got your NP?
Yeah, after that, I started working for a dermatologist, and then shortly thereafter, COVID hit, and he shut down for a little while. He's perfectly in business again, and things have changed for him now too. But at the time, I was like, oh, what would I do? And I ended up working in dialysis for a while, which was probably the hardest job I have ever done. It was not just physically, but also mentally.
Emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so sad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to leave. I can't do this.
Yeah.
It was so draining, and you get so attached to everybody, and ultimately they may not stick around.
Right.
So I was like, I have to do something else. I can't do this. So I went online and started looking for jobs like a lot of us do.
Right.
And I came across a med spa in Queens. And I was like, oh, well, this sounds interesting. And people are not sick like this and are generally much happier. Let's do this. And that's how it all started.
That's awesome. So you worked as an NP at the med spa, and that's where you were introduced to Botox, I'm sure, and
Yep.
fillers, and that's so cool. Like, what a transition, right? From like pure sadness to like helping people feel and feel empowered and feel their best. And I love that. So when you were at this med spa for how long, and then were you like, all right, I'm ready to do this on my own?
Not quite that quick yet. I was there for probably a year and a half, but Queens is a bit of a commute from here. So
Mm,
at the tail end of COVID, it was still fine because traffic was still light.
right.
And then things started picking up, and I realized that was really draining to go to Queens 4 or 5 times a week. So I ended up coming back to Westchester and working at a small spa there. And then I was like, you know what? I really think that Rockland needs some of this goodness.
Mhm.
And that's how I ended up here.
So cool. So when you started at that initial med spa, at that point, like I don't know if this is a standard, but like at that point, were you getting Botox and fillers, or were you like never into that, or did you, how did that happen?
Um, Personally, I had not gotten anything done yet at the time. Um, but my mother did.
Mm.
So my mom had me at an older age because when she was younger, she got into a very horrible accident in Brazil, and she needed reconstructive surgery on her face. So they took cartilage from the ear to reconstruct her nose and
Wow.
ribs to reconstruct her jaw. And it was very traumatic for many years until she even found a surgeon that really helped her do all of this. So before the cartilage and the ribs, it was just not pretty.
Mm.
So my mother always struggled with these stigmas and beauty and everything. And she was a very flamboyant woman. She still is. I mean, now she has dementia, but she will
Wow.
always make sure that her hair is
Looks
colored.
that was my grandma. We like till she had dementia too. Till the day she died, we did her hair. She was the only person in a nursing home with not gray hair.
My mom has jet black hair, so the salon has to bring extra color because nobody else would ever even have jet black hair. It was so funny. One time the nurse walked by and she was like, "So we thought we would let her go gray." And my mom, who doesn't really answer generally correctly anymore, goes,
Right.
"No, no."
No.
I was like, "Mom." So so it was really my mom because she ended up doing a lot of fillers to kind of plump up some of the scars on her face, to just kind of do things, especially later in life, without having to do another
A
surgery.
full surgery, right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So what services do you provide at Bobar?
So Bobar really is more of a Botox. That's kind of how it started, right? So a Botox driven place. So we do a lot of Botox, but we also have different neuromodulators. So it's almost like we have we have the Crest toothpaste and we have the Colgate. There's different versions of this neuromodulator, and we have a couple of them. We have Botox, we have a Xeomin, and we're also going to have Jeuveau next. So
Very cool.
that's
Now, can you
coming.
explain, like I young and I don't have Botox, although I hear that younger women and men are getting Botox younger. Can you explain like the side effects, the positives, the negatives about, break some of those stigmas? Because I feel like there's so much like shame around it, like, oh, you have Botox. And now we're starting to shift that
Yeah.
that what we're hearing.
Yeah, the narrative around Botox has always been this like very creepy looking face, right? Of maybe somebody middle aged or over who's has these like super spiked eyebrows like this, and like the super surprised look on their face. I think that's what people are afraid of. Like they come and they're like, "Please don't make me look like that. I want this, but don't make me look like that." And I promise I don't. We've really come a long way in terms of Botox. Botox was actually a medication used for astigmatism in the eye, the twitching in the eye. because it calms the nerve down, right? The muscle down. You don't get the muscle movement. So they realized when they were putting Botox in for astigmatism that the wrinkles around the eye, the crow's feet, were going away too. And they were like, oh, look at this. This is awesome. So that's how it came about. And I guess we weren't really sure how it was going to affect our forehead yet. So that's when you got this a lot. Yeah. But that is not the case anymore. We're really much better at knowing how the muscle moves, where the muscles are, what muscles connect. And that knowledge will give you a much more natural look. So I obviously have Botox, and you can see I can move my eyebrows. I have movement. The thought of Botox is that you put it in and you walk out frozen, and you're frozen for 3 months because that's how long Botox is lasting, and then all of a sudden you've defrosted and you're back, right? That's really not the case either. So Botox takes about a week to take effect. Full effect, really, you say 14 days. So somebody that comes and says today and says, I have a wedding on Saturday, can I get Botox? I mean, you could, but it's not going to make you look any different. So that's important to know. It takes time to really start working. And then it's really frozen, or the most frozen, for the next month or so. Then it softens again and wears off slowly. So you don't have this like very tight forehead for 3 months from the moment you get your Botox injections until your next one.
So is it usually typically like if you were to get Botox, let's just say in your forehead, it would last about 3 months? Is that, and then you would turn around, then you can get it again, or you could not? Is there any negative side effects that you guys have seen? Like, I know that Botox is actually just paralyzing. Is that the right word? It's paralyzing the muscle temporarily.
Yes.
Is there any side effects that you guys have been seeing?
Not other than the injection sites. You can get bruising, you can get a little redness and swelling, but over time, there's a very small percentage of people who kind of build up a resistance, and it stops working for them.
Okay.
So that's actually a very sad moment in time for most people. if it ever happens to them, it's a very small percentage of people. And I actually only know one person. And for that person, you would have to switch to a different product.
Okay. So there's still a solution, and that's like not really a bad thing, I feel like.
Correct. Like there's still something. But every product works a little differently. Like you were asking before, tell me about the difference. Like Botox is it lifts you much more than say another product like Xeomin. Xeomin will give you more of a natural look.
Okay.
So you get Botox, you get that lift, right? But you just have to be careful that it's not too much. Xeomin doesn't quite give it to you as much. So that would be the product that I would switch you over if you ended up with a Botox resistance. So people are then a little sad. They're like, but I want that. I want the lift. But at least there is a little bit of a lift. It just isn't quite as noticeable.
Right. So along with Botox, what's the difference between like Botox and a filler?
So Botox is for wrinkles that are caused by muscle movement. So if you have, say around the lips, right? A lot of people have wrinkles around the lips. You could put Botox, but you have to only put a very specific amount. It's very small of an amount because it paralyzes your muscles, as you said, and then you can't drink out of a straw. You can't gargle. You have to, do this to gargle. I've had people come and say, I had to close my mouth to gargle. And people don't mind doing that sometimes. But it is a little bit difficult. So for those items, fillers are better. That's what you would use a filler for. Fillers also last longer. So they last about a year, sometimes
Wow.
even 2 years, depending on their consistency. The cheek fillers that I would put in, they go right on the bone. They last about 18 months, 18 to 24 months.
Wow. And
Yeah,
is
they
that
last
just like,
really
is that
well.
fat cells going in? Like, what is filler?
Fillers, the most common filler right now is a hyaluronic acid filler.
Okay.
And we hear a lot about that these days. It's in all skincare products.
Right.
But it is really a wonderful product because it attracts moisture. So it gives this plump appearance. And that's kind of what happens in the lips when people get lip filler. So aside from the fact that there is extra material in your lips, it will attract more fluid to your lips to
give you the plump look.
Yes.
So you do both Botox. Filler usually is like what, the cheeks around
Do
the
the
lips.
cheeks, the lips, and the lines around the mouth.
Okay. And then
Although
Botox.
I do also put a little Botox around the mouth, but I'm very conservative with that because I just personally don't really like the way it feels.
Now it seems like you go for well, you offer a very natural look as well. Like even just looking at your face, like it doesn't look like the typical, like when you think Botox, like
Yes, I do go for that is more me and my style. It is much more natural. Have I done somebody who wanted more bigger lips? Sure.
Sure, you can
But
do it.
my usual patient is not somebody that's looking for that. It is usually more somebody who just wants a little something to, because we're all beautiful. We just want to hold on to our
Feel
beauty just
extra.
a little
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's not something to be ashamed of in any way. Whatever makes you, my belief is whatever makes you feel good, then do it, right? Because
Exactly.
life is short. And if that makes you feel better and that makes you, when you feel better, you do better. So that's kind of what I feel. There's no shame to be had. And actually, believe it or not, it's like a lot of people have Botox today and you don't even know because
Yes.
it is so natural, right? And
Uh-huh.
I've even been hearing it like girls in their 20s and I'm like, no way, and they're like, yeah, you couldn't even tell.
Yeah, they get what baby Botox version of things, very little. Occasionally you'll get somebody who has, when they animate, when they lift their foreheads, you've probably seen them, they have very distinct lines when they look surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And for some young girls, it's very those are very deep lines already.
Mm-hmm.
Even though when at rest you can't see anything, but when they move, you can see very distinct lines. They often come to prevent the lines from coming because they can see the big lines when they're talking to their friends and they're like, these are going to be my wrinkles, and they're absolutely right, those are going to be their wrinkles.
Right. Very interesting. So along with the Botox and filler, well, before I move to chemical peel, I wanted to know, like, how painful is it to get Botox and filler? The needle looks so small, but is it something that's like a 10 out of 10, or is this like manageable?
I believe it is quite manageable, and I talk my patients through it usually. Botox, I don't usually numb for. The needle is so tiny and it goes so quick that I don't numb for Botox. I do put some numbing on for lip fillers because the lips are very sensitive. It's
Yeah.
just you can't not. And there is a little bit of numbing in the filler as well. So as we go along, it gets a little bit more tolerable. And then after that, the ice comes on, and then it's like, okay, this is good. It's all manageable. It's not
right. And it's not that long, right? It's not like it's this long procedure that.
Not at all. It's very quick. Even lips are fairly quick. I mean, it's not like you're sitting there for an hour. You're probably numbing for about 20 to 30 minutes, just because they're very absorbent. Lips are very absorbent. You'll feel numb pretty quickly. So 20, 30 minutes, and then like another 20 minutes of the treatment, probably even faster, and then you're out the door already.
That's awesome. So the last thing, I know you also mentioned that you're, ever evolving and adding some other things, but right now one of the other services you offer is chemical peels. What is that? I don't even, I know like facials and stuff like that, but is the chemical peel like taking off that first layer of skin? Like, let me know.
Yes. Oh, yes, it does. And you'll see my journey too if you go to my Instagram. But I love the VI peel because chemical peels are often associated with stinging and pain. The VI peel is not that at all. You may feel a little bit of stinging, but it's self-neutralizing, so it stops within 30 seconds. It's just the sting is gone and you're like, all right, time for the next layer. Depending on what your needs are, it's a different combination of acids, and it really does take the layers of your skin off. So it helps with pigmentation, with fine lines. It stimulates collagen. Acne and acne scars are huge on that one because the clogged pores with acne,
right,
it's just taking it all off and
fresh skin.
Start over.
Right. Yeah. Now, is there any like downside to that, like taking off that first layer? I'm sure like sun exposure is something you have to be careful with. Yes, but there's no real, like your body automatically is going to just regenerate that skin naturally.
Yes, and it regenerates quicker on the skin. So it's not a peel you would do on the skin is not a peel you would do on your body because the rest of your body does not regenerate quite as fast, but the face regenerates very quickly. So it does take that layer off, and what you get is like this glow after 6 days, 7 days, you end up with this very glowy, dewy skin, not the raw skin under the scab that you kicked. It doesn't look like that at all. It's glowy, it's dewy, it's
fresh
soft
skin.
Yes, it's literally fresh, a fresh piece of skin.
Oh, that's awesome. I love what you're doing. So I'm going to, you said you mentioned you have Instagram, and Facebook, I'm assuming. Do you have a site or anything, or like what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Usually Instagram a little bit easier for me. I do have them somehow linked, but it doesn't always work that way. But Instagram is good. I also have Messenger, so I do get the messages as well. But Instagram, the best usually.
Cool. And how often are you open? Like, do you just go in for sessions, or do you have like walk-in hours? How does that work?
I usually go in for sessions. If you do want to do something last minute, just
reach out.
Message me. I mean, I live 12 minutes away, so if there's anything and I have time, I will go over. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this is super cool, and I really love that like you're a local mom. You're super natural. It's not like you're like from the red carpet. I love it. So, Cleo, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to share with the community because a lot of people probably don't even know you exist, and you deserve to be known.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.